Leverkusen made it Laterkusen against the resilient Heidenheim. Leipzig embraced the new coach bounce at home to Hoffenheim. And there was a surprising store for Dortmund at Freiburg. We'll cover those three games. In fact, we'll cover all the games that featured in match day 28 of the Bundesliga. Welcome into the channel. Thanks for joining us. We're here to review all the Bundesliga action from match day 28. There were 25 goals. In fact, that's just one more than in match day 27. Plenty of surprises in store as well. So why don't you go and get yourself a drink, come back and get comfortable, and let us analyse all the action from match day 28, starting with a feisty derby in Bavaria. Augsburg won by Munich 3. This is a game where Munich had to come from 1-0 down to grab the points. Our one to watch for Augsburg, Dimitri Giannoulis. Well, he smashed them in front with a shot that Jonas Erbig in goal for Munich. Well, he did pretty well to get out of the way of. 96 kilometres from a distance of approximately 12 metres. Well, it would have knocked him out had he got in the way. And Munich don't need any more injuries to deal with. That was Giannoulis' first goal in 25 starts for Augsburg. Musiala, well, he produced a moment of magic, as he usually does. That was to equalise for Munich. He wriggled past three Augsburg defenders before striking firmly beyond Finn Darman. Actually, it looked like Darman had got a hand on it. Either way, the ball ended up in the net, and that made it 1-1 on the 42nd minute. In the second half, there was a red card for Cedric Zeisinger of Augsburg, and that proved a pivotal moment in the match. He was given a second yellow card for bringing down Harry Kane in the final third. That left Augsburg with 30 minutes to hang on. That's an unenviable task, even if it was against a Munich side not at their very best. Augsburg's resistance, well, it lasted less than a minute after that red card. An intelligent free kick from Kimmich picked out Michael Olise. He whipped in a gorgeous cross with his left foot. Kane was on the end of it, running in, unmarked, to power a header past the hapless Finn Darman for 2-1 Munich. That's 23 Bundesliga goals so far this season for Harry Kane, and Michael Olise with his 10th assist. Leroy Sané had the chance to make it 3-1. He was running clear after Augsburg had turned the ball over from their own corner. Credit to Darman for standing tall and using his frame to deny Sané, who Sané possibly should have gone round the keeper. But what would I know? You know, I was cheering for Darman anyway as an ex-goalkeeper. Sané did atone a few minutes later. Kimmich picked him out at the edge of the box. Sané ran through and from a tight angle released a shot, which ended up going inside the post past Finn Darman, although it was later chalked down as an own goal by Krislin Matsima. Yeah, that's right. The game finished 3-1 to Munich. They didn't look particularly convincing, despite enjoying 69% possession. Credit to Augsburg, though. They made it difficult with a low block whilst taking advantage of set pieces. That's where that Giannoulis goal came from in the first half. Plus, Augsburg had chances to equalise within the game. There was an incident late on with Berisha. He was one-on-one with Erbik, but he got his feet tangled up and it came to nothing. With that loss then, Augsburg slipped down into 11th. That's on 39 points. That's 5 points off Gladbach in 6th place. Augsburg are hoping to not drop away like they did this time last season, especially when European football has been so close since the January season restart. However, Munich did close the game out using all their experience, and that extended their league at the top of the Bundesliga to 9 points. That was because this game was taking place on Freitag, and that put the pressure back on Leverkusen to find another win. As mentioned, our one to watch for Augsburg was the Greek Dimitri Giannoulis, 29-year-old left winger. He had one shot, which he scored from. Yeah, one shot, one goal, not a bad return. He contributed 29 passes, put in 2 crosses and carried the ball once into the Munich final third. Whereas for Munich, our one to watch was João Palhinha, the 29-year-old Portuguese central midfielder, ex-Fulham for my UK viewers. He won 2 tackles, he made 1 block, and he switched the play once during a phase of Munich being in possession. As for our prediction, well, we had Munich down as a 2-1 win. They scored 1 more than we anticipated. That's a shame. Munich didn't look at their best until the Augsburg red card. They do find a way of winning games, though, because they are experienced. They are, 11 times consecutive champions of the Bundesliga with a stellar lineup. Anyways, another win for Munich. They're 21st of the season. Their 9th win on the road. We start this review with an L. Let's see where we go from here. FC Heidenheim 0, Bayer Leverkusen 1. Absolute heartbreak for Frank Schmidt in his 701st game in charge of Heidenheim. They pressed forward in waves. Leverkusen were prompted into making 35 clearances. The post and the crossbar came to Leverkusen's rescue. That was after a Gimber effort early on. Had they been more clinical in front of goal, this could have been a very different outcome for Heidenheim. It's a shame, though, that only 2 out of their 10 shots were on target. Leverkusen, well, they looked well below par. It took until the 85th minute before Kevin Muller had to make a save. That was from a Jonas Hoffmann shot. They are called Laterkusen for a reason, though. Ex-Aston Villa Emiliano Buendia, well, he popped up on the 91st minute to save Leverkusen's blushes. That ends a 3-game unbeaten streak for Heidenheim. They remain in 16th on 22 points. That's a gap of 2 points now from Bochum in 17th and 4 points behind St. Pauli. They travel to Frankfurt in match day 29 as well. And with that win, Leverkusen keep within 6 points of Munich, who are current leaders of the Bundesliga, and Leverkusen host Union Berlin next weekend on match day 29. Our one to watch for Heidenheim was Niklas Dorsch, the 22-year-old central midfielder. He had 47 touches, put in 2 crosses, switched the play once, and on one occasion he carried the ball into the Leverkusen penalty box. Our one to watch for Bayer Leverkusen was Armin Adli, a 24-year-old Moroccan attacking midfielder. He had 48 touches, 2 in the Heidenheim penalty box. He put in 5 crosses and had 1 shot. Sadly, it didn't come to anything. As for our prediction, well, we're shocked that Leverkusen was so below their usual standards. I mean, they won the previous game with Heidenheim 5-2. Okay, they went 2-0 down. Credit to Frank Schmidt's side. Well, they scored 5 previously and only struggled to score 1. And that was in injury time, right? Heartbreak, like we say, for Frank Schmidt. They deserved at least a point for their industry. That's not how football works, though, is it, right? It's not under the management of a new Labour government in the 2000s where everyone is celebrated for taking part. This is the Bundesliga, right? And this is the business end. This is business, right? Football's harsh. Anyway, Leverkusen scrape a win, and we take another L. RB Leipzig 3, TSG Hoffenheim 1. Leipzig embraced the new manager bounce with a home win over Hoffenheim. The Hungarian manager of Leipzig, Zsolt Low, well, he managed to get a tune out of his attacking quartet of Simons, Baku, not the capital of Azerbaijan, Simons, Baku, Openda and Sheshko. 5 shots on target out of 16 between those 4. I mean, Leipzig had to earn it against the Hoffenheim side who played bravely. That was for 70 minutes with only 10 men. That was after Leo Østegård was given a straight red for a foul on Openda. Hoffenheim, well, they took an early lead. That was with a rare Peter Galassi howler. He threw the ball out pretty much straight to Baz Toure. He found his colleague, and the golden boy Tom Bischoff fired home from 30 yards out to make it 1-0 Hoffenheim. That was, like you say, pretty early on the 11th minute. Šeško then capitalised on another goalkeeping error. His powerful header was spilled into the net by Germany's number 1, don't forget, Oliver Baumann. That was on the 24th minute. Riddle Baku then rifled a shot home from 12 metres to make it 2-1 Leipzig. Loyal Leipzig servant and forward Yusuf Poulsen, well, he sucked all hope out of a weary Hoffenheim. That was on the 84th minute. VAR cleared his goal. Poulsen controlled it with his chest rather than his arm before tucking it past Baumann to make it 3-1. That was his first goal this season, by the way, from his 15th appearance off the bench. VAR was in the spotlight again in this game, this time ruling out a Hoffenheim equaliser. That was for offside, and that was after Castello Lukaby had turned the ball into his own goal from a Baz Toure cross. Christian Ilzer, manager of Hoffenheim, should take heart from the fight that Tom Bischoff and his boys put up with just 10 men. They were outrun and out-sprinted, though, by Leipzig, who looked fresh under new manager Löw. Hoffenheim remaining 14th place on 27 points. That's a single point ahead of St. Pauli, but 6 behind Union Berlin. Hoffenheim, well, they host Mainz in match day 29. Leipzig, well, they move up into 5th. They're now on 45 points. That's a single point off Mainz in their last Champions League place up for grabs. Leipzig travel to Wolfsburg next. That's the side who've lost 3 on the spin. Our one to watch for Leipzig was Niklas Seewald, the 23-year-old Austrian central midfielder. He played for 72 minutes before being subbed off for Amadou Hadara. He had 64 touches, he made 1 through ball, and he won 2 tackles. The Hoffenheim one to watch was Gift Orban, the 22-year-old Nigerian striker. He came on for 15 minutes as a sub for Haris Tabakovic. Still managed 8 touches, 1 switch of the play, and he carried the ball once into the Leipzig final third. Gift Orban there. Oh, look how close we were with that prediction. We went 2-1 Leipzig. Yusuf Poulsen had other ideas to make it 3-1. We're pleased for him, especially because it was his first goal of the season. Leipzig, well, with that win, they keep their Champions League dreams alive for another match day. Hands us yet another L, though. Yeah, we got that one wrong. SC Freiburg 1, Dortmund 4. Freiburg, they didn't turn up, which is very unlike them. They were blunt. Dortmund took advantage, and in contrast, they looked incredibly sharp. Karim Adeyemi, he put Dortmund ahead on 34 minutes. Kani Chukwuemeka, he's on loan from Chelsea. He made it 2-0 with a deflected strike from distance on 51 minutes. Then 2 goals in 10 minutes put Dortmund beyond reach of Freiburg. Serhou Guirassy with his 15th goal of the Bundesliga campaign. He scored by coming off the bench on 68 minutes. And then Jamie Gittins came off the bench as well to wrap things up on 78 minutes. The hard-working midfielder for Freiburg, Maxi Eggestein, well, he restored some pride for Freiburg. That was with a goal on the 88th minute. It looks like Freiburg's Champions League aspirations are fading away. That's 2 defeats on the spin for Julian Schuster's Freiburg and no wins in 5. His Freiburg slipped down to 7th. That's on 42 points. Dortmund, well, they're up into 8th and breathing down Freiburg's neck on 41 points. Dortmund have 3 massive games coming up. 2 against Barcelona in the quarter-final of the Champions League, with the Klassiker against Munich. Actually, it's away at Munich. That's sandwiched in between. Freiburg, meanwhile, well, they travelled to Gladbach, who moved above them into 6th. Our one to watch for Freiburg was Ritsu Doen, the Japanese right-footed attacking midfielder. He had 67 touches and produced 1 assist. That was for the Maxi Eggestein goal. He also had 5 shots on goal himself, didn't come to anything, and he put in 3 crosses. And I want to watch for Dortmund is Maxi Bayer, the 22-year-old attacking midfielder who Niko Kovac deploys all over the front line. He played for an hour before being substituted by Seru Girassi. Maxi Bayer, 25 touches, 2 shots of his own and 2 assists. What a fabulous day at the office for Maxi Bayer. Well, would you look at that? It felt like Dortmund were going to win, but not by that margin. Just for the record, Dortmund, well, they've now scored 7 in 2 games. I'm disappointed in Freiburg, as I'm sure their manager, Julian Schuster, is. Like we said before, it feels like their Champions League dreams, in fact, all their European dreams are fading away. Dortmund, well, they're going up the table. They're making a late surge for Europe. As for us, we take another L. Mainz 1, Holstein Kiel 1. That result was a shock to me and most likely Mainz manager Bo Henriksen. We were convinced that Mainz were going to squash Holstein Kiel in this game. As it was, they had to come from behind to rescue a point. Alexander Bernhardsen had to come up with a spectacular to beat a Robin Zentner who was in imperious form. He was pulling off a string of world-class saves in goal for Mainz. The Swede, though, Bernhardsen, well, he put the visitors ahead on the 34th minute. It's worth checking that goal out on YouTube, by the way. And then FM Wonderkid striker Nelson Viper earned a point for Mainz on the 75th minute. Mainz threw everything at Kiel. Anthony Cassie hit the post with a header. They even had a Nicholas Verretschning effort ruled off for offside. Thomas Dane in goal for Holstein Kiel. Well, he kept Mainz out with 2 saves from 5 shots on target. Kiel nearly snatched all the points really late on. It was heart in the mouth stuff as striker Phil Harris headed over from close range. Mainz have dropped points for a second consecutive match and they are now without a win in 4, which is going to raise alarm bells for Bo Henriksen, albeit on quite a low volume. Mainz hold on to 4th place with 46 points, although they missed out on going above Frankfurt. That was following Frankfurt's loss to Werder Bremen. More on that later. Mainz travel to Hoffenheim on match day 29, whereas Kiel, well, they remain bottom of the table, albeit within 2 points to Bochum, who were rolled over by Stuttgart. Kiel hosts St. Pauli next in a bona fide sect puncture. Our one to watch for Mainz was Keishu Sano, the 24-year-old industrious working central midfielder. He had 55 touches, he won 2 tackles and recovered the ball 11 times. So it's pretty busy, Keisho Sano. Our one to watch for Holstein Kiel was Magnus Knudsen, the 23-year-old Norwegian central midfielder. He played 23 minutes. He came on as a sub for Bernhardsen, the Swede. 13 touches for Knudsen, 1 cross, and he recovered the ball twice. Wow, look at that. Our prediction was completely off the mark. Again, we were convinced that Mainz were going to steamroll over Holstein Kiel. And as it was, we're not the only ones off the mark, right? Johnny Burkhardt was off the mark. That's a rare game without a goal for him. Yeah, credit to Holstein Kiel for putting Mainz under pressure. We take another L. Bochum 0, Stuttgart 4. This was the Ermendine Demirovic show. He bagged a hat-trick against a toothless Bochum side. That's one that big man Philip Hoffmann was convinced they were going to win. That was in an interview on Instagram with Rise from Rise Football Paradise. He's definitely worth a follow. Very entertaining chap. It was a rotated Stuttgart side too. That was after their energetic DFB Pokal semi-final win over Leipzig. The scoring was opened actually by big Jeff Chabot on 8 minutes, swivelling like a natural-born striker. That was following a knockdown by Atakan Karazar. Demirovic scored 3 minutes later to make it 2-0. which deflated Dieter Heckin's Bochum, in all honesty. That was the second assist of the match for Karazor. Demirovic scored again on 48 minutes. He was picked out unmarked by a Ramon Hendricks cross. Bochum had a late goal chalked off. Georgios Masouras was claimed to have kicked the ball out of Alexander Nubel's hands. It looked like Nubel wasn't in control, to be fair. Either way, the goal was disallowed. And it wouldn't have mattered really, because Demirovic completed his hat-trick, ghosting in with a tap-in on the 85th minute. That made it 4-0 Stuttgart, and that was a rare win, especially on the road. That's 13 goals for the season for Demirovic, whilst it's 4 assists for Karazor. Bochum only managed 2 shots on target, and they were wasteful with all their ball dominance. They remain in 17th on 20 points. That's only a 2-point gap over bottom-placed Holstein Kiel. Bochum, well, they host Augsburg in matchday 29. As for Stuttgart, they move up into 9th on 40 points. That's just 4 points off a European place for next season. They host Werder Bremen next up in matchday 29. I want to watch for Bochum is the giant, the gentle giant, 6'4", German forward Philipp Hoffmann. He's featured in 26 games so far this season, 2 goals, 2 assists, but in this game, it was just 22 touches, 2 shots, 1 on target, whilst he put in 1 cross. Our one to watch for Stuttgart was Enzo Milo, the 22-year-old French midfielder. Well, he was an unused sub, although he did play in their DFB Pokal semi-final win over Leipzig. We look forward to seeing him in a future game. Enzo Milo there. Whoa, look how off the mark we were with that prediction. It rained goals down on Bochum. Stuttgart scoring 4. We thought that Stuttgart were going to win. It felt like Bochum were going to nick a goal, and as it was the Ermine Demirovic show. He scored a hat-trick. Voltemade did get a cameo, didn't get on the score sheet, like I say, because it was the Demirovic show. Bochum, well, it plunges them into further trouble, whereas Stuttgart, they're moving on up the table, whilst we take another L. Werder Bremen 2, Eintracht Frankfurt 0. This was a surprise home win over Frankfurt. It's not happened since February of 21. That game ended 2-1 to Bremen, with Josh Sargent scoring the winning goal. It was a surprise too for Frankfurt, who bossed the possession with 62%, but didn't produce a killer move. The Eagles didn't register a single shot on target, and Hugo Ekitike was uncharacteristically off target. His 4 shots didn't trouble Michael Zetterer in goal for Bremen. Oliver Burke, the smartly dressed Scot, well, he stole in unmarked for the opener. That was from a Romano Schmidt corner on the 28th minute. Schmidt then sealed the win with a gorgeous curling effort from the left-hand side of the Frankfurt box. That was on 85 minutes. That's 2 wins on the spin now for Bremen, which hasn't happened since late December. They're up to 10th on 39 points. 5 points short of Gladbach in the last European spot. Could they really sneak into Europe? They travel to Stuttgart next. That should be interesting. As for Frankfurt, well, they hold on to 3rd place. That's in lieu of Mainz being held to a 1-1 draw by Holstein Kiel, which keeps their Champions League dream alive for another match. Frankfurt, well, they host Frank Schmidt's Heidenheim on match day 29. Oh, would you look at that? Our one to watch for Werder Bremen was the assist maker and the goal machine, Romano Schmidt, the 25-year-old Austrian central midfielder. 1 shot, like I say, 1 goal, 1 assist and 6 crosses, and he ended up with man of the match with an 8.4 rating. Clap that in, Romano Schmidt. Our one to watch for Frankfurt was John Matteo Bohoya. Bohoya, yeah, the French 19-year-old attacking midfielder. He played for 69 minutes before being subbed for Fares Chaibi. He had 38 touches, put in 3 crosses, and on 2 occasions he carried the ball into the Brennan final third. John Matteo Bohoya there. As for the prediction, Werder Bremen surprised us all. Yeah, really didn't see that coming. I'm pleased for Real Nico, for Werder Mike and all the Werder crew in New York City. That's another L to us, which is beginning to sound all too familiar. Credit Bremen. Could they end up in Europe next season? 6 games to go, we'll have to wait and see. But it's another L for us. FC St. Pauli won, Monchengladbach won. St. Pauli came from behind to grab a deserved equaliser. That's in a game which Gladbach really should have put to bed. Ko Itakura with the go-ahead goal for Gladbach. That was from a Frank Honrahat corner into injury time in the first half. Check out the precision with that flight and angle. Yeah, watch that goal on YouTube. Alassane Play, the Frenchman, he had a header saved by Nikai Vasilic on 51 minutes, which should have made it 2-0 to Gladbach. Tim Kleindist put a header wide on 70 minutes. Very unlike him to miss such a lush chance. St. Pauli pushed and pushed. They had 26 shots on goal. They had to wait until the 85th minute. English super sub Dapo Afolainen with a thunderbolt strike past Luxembourg's Thiago Pereira Cardosa. That's only the 9th goal that St. Pauli fans have seen at the Milan Tour all season, and that's Afolainen's 3rd goal, his last coming all the way back in November in a game against Hoffenheim. St. Pauli remain on 15th with 26 points. That's a single point behind Hoffenheim. More importantly, they're now 4 points clear of Heidenheim in the relegation playoff spot. They visit Holstein Kiel on match day 29, which is an absolute set puncture for both teams. As for Gladbach, well, they dropped 1 place into 5th. That's on 44 points. That's just 1 point off Leipzig in the Europa League spot. Gladbach hosts Freiburg, who are below them, in 7th. That's coming up in match day 29. Our one to watch for St. Pauli was Elias Saad, the 25-year-old German attacking midfielder. He played for 74 minutes before being subbed out for Australian international Connor Metcalfe. His first game back since injury. Saad, well, he had 40 touches, 4 shots, 2 on target, and carried the ball once into the Gladbach penalty box. Frank Honrahat, he was our Gladbach one to watch. That's right, the 28-year-old French right winger. He had 30 touches, put in 4 crosses, and came up with 1 assist. That being the goal that came from the corner from Japanese Ko Itakura. When it comes to the prediction, we feel stunned that Gladbach didn't make it 3 wins on the spin. All credit to St. Pauli though. I mean, they are miserly in defence. That's just 15 goals conceded at home now all season. They do struggle to score though. Only 9 goals now scored in the Milan Tour. Whereas Gladbach, they'd scored 8 in 4 games going into this one. Gladbach really should have put it to bed. It's a rare blank for Tim Kleindist. And we take another L for the weekend. Union Berlin 1, Wolfsburg 0. It wasn't a pretty game, unlike the setting in the Forest. Sometimes all you need though is a single goal to win a game. And for Union, well, that came from their street fighting forward, Benedikt Hollerbach. That's his 8th of the Bundesliga campaign. And it came from a first assist of the campaign from defender Leopold Querfeld. Wolfsburg had their chances. Patrick Wimmer and Mohamed Amora went close, but they were denied by a gritty Union defence. 12 blocks coming from Rani Kaderi, Diogo Leite and Querfeld. Ralph Hasenhüttl, he'll be concerned as that's now 3 defeats on the spin for Wolfsburg and they've all been 1-0. Wolfsburg drop all the way down into 12th. That's on 38 points. That's 6 points off Gladbach in 6th. Their European aspirations are slipping away, and that's after such a recent uplifting performance. They at one point were on a 7-game unbeaten streak. Wolfsburg, well, they host a resurgent Leipzig in matchday 29. For Union, it's another step forward towards retaining their Bundesliga status. They're now 4 games unbeaten and remain in 13th on 33 points, which is 6 clear of Hoffenheim. They travel to Leverkusen next. Leverkusen have only lost 2 games all season. All right, they're both at home. It's going to be tough for Union. They are fighters, though, and they did claw back a draw at home against Munich. Mind you, that was at home, wasn't it? Anyway, we'll find out when Union travel to Leverkusen in match day 29. Our one to watch for Union Berlin was Rani Kadiri. That's the younger brother of ex-Galactico Sami. Kadiri's 31. He's German. He's a defensive midfielder. He had 38 touches. He won 2 tackles, made 2 blocks, and recovered the ball once. And the Wolfsburg one to watch was Thiago Tomas, the 22-year-old Portuguese attacking midfielder. Fantastic facial hair. He came on as a sub for Joachim Meilier and played 18 minutes. He had 7 touches in that time, 4 in the Union third, and he put in 1 cross. Sometimes we're at a complete loss. There I was, making out just how effective Wolfsburg are on the road with their 7 wins. I believe my quote was something like, they should live out of a suitcase. I would end up regretting those words. Union, well, they fight to another win. That's 2 on the spin. And we end match day 28 with a whitewash of L's. We round off our match day 28 review by looking at the most influential players, the goal hangers, the assist makers, and the keepers of dreams. Plus, we'll take a look at the impact the results have had on the table, both at the bottom and in the European places in the top half. Let's take a look at the most goal scorers first. There's a few changes to this listing. Harry Kane, well, he scored the go-ahead goal for Munich in their unconvincing 3-1 win over Augsburg. That's 2 goals in 2 for him, which takes his tally for the season so far in the Bundesliga to 23 goals. And then Seru Girassi, he scored from the bench. Well, not literally from the bench, but that would be a very impressive piece of skill. No, I mean, he scored coming off the bench. That's a better way of putting it. Which takes his tally up to 15 goals. No other changes, so Harry Kane remains out front with 23 goals. Just one change this week to the most assists shortlist. It's quite a significant one, and it's with Michael Olise. That's right, the ex-Crystal Palace attacking midfielder. Well, he came up with another assist for Munich. That's 3 assists in 2 games for him. That brings his tally up to 10, which means he shares the top spot with Florian Wirtz. That's right, both Michael Olise and Florian Wirtz are both out front on joint 10 assists. There were only 4 clean sheets out of 9 games, which is a repeat of what happened in matchday 27, and none of those were for teams featuring keepers on this listing. No changes, no impact, so it's as you were. Peter Galassi of Leipzig, he's out front with 13 clean sheets from 28 games. Let's take a look at the bottom half of the Bundesliga table first. We can see that 9 points separate Holstein Kiel in 18th and Hoffenheim in 14th. It feels like Union Berlin are going to remain in the Bundesliga for another season. What's really interesting is the relegation playoff place. Heidenheim, well, they currently own it. However, they are only 4 points off St. Pauli, who are on 26 points. 8 points bind the bottom 4 teams. That's with just 6 games to go, which means there's a maximum 18 points up for grabs. As for the top half of the table and the all-important European race, 6 points separate Wolfsburg in 12th and Gladbach in 6th. Stuttgart, well, they've climbed into ninth following their 4-0 smashing of Bochum. That puts them on 40 points, which is a delta of 4 points to Gladbach. Dortmund are making a late surge. They're up into 8th on 41 points. Freiburg, well, they're in free fall, having once been in 5th. They now find themselves in 7th. Gladbach will drop points at St. Pauli, which could have nudged them into a Champions League spot. Leipzig move up a place into 5th. That's following their home win over Hoffenheim. Only 2 points keep Mainz and Frankfurt apart. Both drop points in matchday 28. Frankfurt will be reeling more after losing away to Werder Bremen. It feels like Frankfurt might put another 3 points on the board when they play Heidenheim next. And likewise, Mainz will be hoping to do the same when they travel to Hoffenheim. That's a side that just cannot keep a clean sheet at home. At the summit, there remains a 6-point gap between Leverkusen in second and Munich as leaders. Munich, well, they face Dortmund in Die Klassiker next. That's at least at home at the Allianz Arena. Whereas Leverkusen, well, they host a fighting Union Berlin. Munich, though, well, they're still top and lead the way on 68 points. And that's it. That wraps up our review of all the games and all the goals from matchday 28. Which game stood out to you? What results surprised you? And what did you think of our wild predictions? You know the drill. Let us know in the comment section down below. Thanks as ever for the support. It means so much to us. If you could find it in your heart to give us a like and even go one step further and subscribe, not only would that be wonderbar, but it would help increase awareness of the channel. But as ever, a like and a subscribe is your free will. We do have more content to keep you satiated in the meantime. You can check out our preview of the 2 Bundesliga teams in action in this week's Champions League quarter-finals. And then all that remains to be said is that he's been Gonzo, I've been Craig, you've been extremely patient. I'll be the same for now. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you again very soon.